Hare Krishna. Welcome to Iskcon Niagara's Saturday Verdict presentation. Now, this is a very interesting weekend because it is the Easter weekend, and this is celebrated by millions and millions of Christians all over the world. And this weekend marks very special events in the life of Jesus Christ. And tomorrow, Christians will celebrate Easter Sunday, and Jesus Christ has proved or triumphed over death, as so clearly indicated in Bhagavad Gita chapter 2 about the eternality of the soul. So we feel for our Christian brothers on this weekend and wish them well in this observing this particular weekend. Now, today's agenda, you will notice that the time has changed, and thank you all for attending and for the adjustments that you've made. We felt that the 4 o'clock time may be better suited to some of the devotees, so thank you again for bearing with us. Today's agenda, we're going to have an opening kirtan by His Grace, Satchitananda Dasa. That will be followed by a class by Satchitananda titled Dedication of the Self. And soon after that, we will take questions and follow that with answers, and then a little bit about announcements. And after that, we will have the closing kirtan. So we hope you enjoy the program. We welcome Satchitananda for the opening kirtan.
कृष्ण पृष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्ति वेदांत स्वामिनिति नामिने नमस्ते सारस्वते देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेषा शून्यवादी पाश्चात्या देश तारिणे वाञ्छाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्येव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि जय गौर भक्त वृंदा। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि जय गौर भक्त वृंदा। हरे कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे। हरे कृष्णा Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama Hare Rama, Rama Rama Hare Hare. Hare Krishna. So today the theme of today's Saturday program is dedication of the self. And I would like to present a wonderful bhajan by His Divine Grace, Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur, in connection about how one can surrender dedication of the self, also in Sanskrit known as Atmanivedan. It will be displayed on the screen. Everybody will have an opportunity to sing, call and response, and also read the translation. And based on today's bhajan, we will try to expound on it. Hare Krishna. Manasa deha geha jo ki chumora arpilu tu apade nanda ki shora. Manasa deha geha jo kichu mora arpinu tu apade nanda kishora. Haribo. Sampade vipade jivane marane dae mama gela tua opadavarane. Sampadevi pade jivane marane dae mama gela tua opadavarane. Manasa deha jo kichu mora arpilo tu apade nanda kishora. Mara vira khobi jo ichha tohara nita dasa prati tuaya adhikara. Mara vira khobi जो इच्छा तोहारा नित्य दास प्रति तो आय अधिकार जन्माओ भी मोए इच्छा यदि तोरा भक्त गृहे जननी जन्म हो मोरा जन्माओ भी मोए इच्छा यदि तोरा भक्त गृहे जननी जन्म मोरा मानस देह गेहा जो किछु मोरा और पीलो तो आप दे नंद किशोरा कीट जन्म हो यथा तु आकाश बहिर्मुख ब्रह्म जन्मे नाहि आस कीट जन्म हो यथा तु आकाश बहिर्मुख ब्रह्म जन्मे नाहि मोरयास भुक्ति मुक्ति स्पृहा विहीना जे भक्त लभैते ताको संग अनुरक्त भुक्ति मुक्ति स्पृहा विहीना जे भक्त लभैते ताको संग अनुरक्त मानस देह गेह जो किछु मोरा और पीलो तो आप दे नंद किशोरा जनक जननी द्वैता तनय प्रभु गुरुपति तुह सर्वमोय जनक जननी दैतातनय प्रभु गुरुपति तुह सर्वमोय मानस देह गेह जो किछु मोर और पीड़ो तो आपदे नंद किशोर भक्ति विनोद कोए सुनो काना राधा नाथ तू हमार पराण भक्ति विनोद कोए सुनो काना राधा नाथ तू हमार पराण राधा ओ राधा भक्ति विनोद कोए सुनो काना राधा नाथ तू हमारा पराण मानस देह गेह जो किछु मोर और पीलु तू आपदे नंद किशोरा और पीलो तू आपदे नंद किशोरा और पीलो तू आपदे नंद किशोरा हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्णा 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 हरे हरे Hare Ram, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Nitai Gauranga, Nitai Gauranga, Nitai Gauranga, Nitai Gauranga, Nitai Gauranga, Gaur Hari. Nitai Gauranga, Gaur Hari. Vishnu Priya Prana Dhana Nadiya Bihari, Vishnu Priya Prana Dhana Nadiya Bihari, Jaya Satchitananda Dasa, Bolo Parama Karuna Gaur Hari. Jaya Radha Madan Mohan Radha Madan Mohan Radhe Radhe. Jaya Radha Govinda Radha Govinda Radhe Radhe. Jayo Radha Govinda Radha Govinda Radhe Radhe. Jayo Radha Gopinath Radha Gopinath Radhe Radhe. Jayo Radha Gopinath Radha Gopinath Radhe Radhe. Jayo Radha Shyam Sundar Radha Shyam Sundar Radhe Radhe. Jayo Krishna Balaram Jayo Vrindavan Dham. Jayo Krishna Balaram Jayo Vrindavan Dham. Jayo Lalita Vishakha Jayo Radhe Shyam. Lalita Vishakha Jayo Radhe Shyam. Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Nitai Gaura, Hari Bol, Nitai Gaura, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Nitai Gaura, Hari Bol. Jaya Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Jaya Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Jaya Prabhupada, Gurudev, 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 Jaya Jaya Gurudev, Jaya Jaya Gurudev, Jaya Jaya Gurudev. Gaur Premanande Hari Hari Bol. Gaur Premanande Hari Hari Bol. Gaur Premanande Hari Hari Bol.
Hare Krishna. Satchit Prabhu, thank you for a very deep devotional song. So nice. Thank you very, very much. And before I get to introduce Satchit, our guest speaker for today, I'd like to make one little note that during all the weeks ever since our inception, there's been one very dedicated soul who's helping us with our program coordination. And I would like to mention this person's name, and that is Pankaj Shah. On behalf of Iskcon Niagara, I would like to extend our sincere thanks to Pankaj Shah for helping us with all the technology that's required to host these programs. Thank you very much for your kindness. Our guest speaker today is none other than Satchitananda Das, who was initiated by Nitya Leela Pravishta, His Holiness Bhakti Charuswami. Now, Sach has been associated with the International Society for Krishna Consciousness for more than 30 years. And during those 30 years, he's been very dedicated to helping Srila Prabhupada in his mission. He's taken on different services in the temple. He's been helped with the Pujari department, Sunday feast cooking. He's been teaching children the harmonium. But his forte is kirtan, bhajan, lectures, and seminars on Bhagavad Gita, Vaishnava bhajans, Srimad Bhagavatam, and the Gaudiya Vaishnava teachings. He's been on tour in many European countries, Germany, Switzerland, Netherlands, Belgium, France, Russia, Sweden, even North America, Canada, USA, also Mexico. He's totally dedicated to the service of His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhakti Vedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada, and really relishes sharing the teachings and glories of Prabhupada's books. So we'll welcome Satchitananda Das with his class today on the dedication of the self.
Hare Krishna. Thank you, Vaishnava Prabhu, for the generous introduction. I hope someday I can live up to everything that you said. My obeisances unto all the Vaishnavas present, and may the words that emanate from my mouth be pleasing to Srila Prabhupada, all the Gaudiya Vaishnava Acharyas, and all the listeners. So, as Vaishnadas Prabhu mentioned earlier, that this weekend is a very special weekend because Srila Prabhupada mentioned that Lord Jesus Christ is a Shaktiavesh avatar. And so is, by the way, Srila Prabhupada is Shaktiavesh avatar. There are many different avatars of the Supreme Lord. Avatar means one who descends. It's a Latin word derived from the Latin word descending. And incarnation is also a Latin word, incarne. Carne means one who comes into flesh, into this mortal world. So Shakta means the potency. Avesh means one who is endowed with. Avatar. So somebody who is endowed with some special potencies, especially to preach about the Supreme Lord and to preach the science of self-realization on a very large scale is known as Shaktiavesh Avatar. So Lord Jesus Christ is well known for him being one of the sons of God. Jesus even said that, I am the son of God. So sometimes we do not need to over translate anything. When Jesus says, I'm the Son of God, then many places he has said that my Father who art in heaven, or when he says, hallowed thy be the kingdom of God. So that definitely distinguishes the Son of God from God. So Son of God is not God, but he is the Son of God. Just like Srila Prabhupada, he's one of the messengers, one of the sons of God himself. A good son is one who actually understands the heart of the Father. So when Jesus says in the Bible, then I and my Father are one, sometimes that has been misinterpreted as the Son and Father, they are God. No, I and the Father are one means that whatever my Father thinks, will, pleases, I also uh, think, feel, and will the same way for the pleasure of my Father. So that is the oneness that Jesus is talking about. And that's what also Vaishnavas, Jesus is a Vaishnava. It is also said that Lord Jesus Christ, in between him in his young age, for almost 18 years he had disappeared and from the Sea of Galilee in the Jewish region, and he had actually gone to Jagannath Puri and also to the Himalayas for the further study of the Vedas. And these things are recorded. And when he came back, also, if we see that yesterday was Good Friday, and when they put him on the cross, uh, he has this wonderful quality, a Vaishnava quality of forgiveness. So these are the words he utters on the cross. Father, forgive them, for they do not know what they do. Father, forgive them, for they do not know what they do. He is asking for forgiveness to Krishna, to the Father, the Supreme Lord, that please forgive these people. It's okay, they do not know. And what is the meaning of that? And when we learn the Vaishnava scriptures, we understand that they do not know means they do not know that I am not this body, I am a spirit soul. They're thinking that by putting me on the cross, they're going to finish the soul. They're going to finish me completely, which I am not this body, I am a spirit soul. So please forgive their ignorance. That's what he's praying to Krishna. So this is amazing. And then of course, tomorrow is Easter Sunday, when Jesus was his body was taken into the cave and blocked. And then when they opened the cave, they saw that Jesus' shroud was left behind, and he had left for the spiritual kingdom. So basically, the resurrection, that's what the Christians call. So there it is clearly, that is why Srila Prabhupada, Bhakti Vinod Thakur, and even Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur, pure Christianity is non-different from basic Vaishnavism. So because they believe Jesus' teachings were that I am not this body, I am a spirit soul. Another wonderful teaching in the beginning, when Jesus Christ is passing by the Sea of Galilee and he sees a bunch of fishermen casting their net to catch fish. He says, cast aside your nets and I will make you a fisherman of men. What a wonderful statement. I had read the Bible earlier in my younger school days, but after coming to Srila Prabhupada's books and proper Vaishnavism studies, I understood the meaning of that verse in a much more clearer light, where I think it's in the book of John, where Jesus is saying that, cast thy nets aside. That means he's saying that, cast aside these nets, catching fish. No, I will make you a fisherman of men. What he meant is, I will make you my disciples. That way you can save many other souls, and I will make you a fisherman of men. And so the Vaishnavas are like that. They catch so many different souls who are bereft of God consciousness, and they give them Krishna consciousness, they give them the science of self-realization. And these are the fishermen most of them who became Jesus' disciples. And then he taught them how to preach. And the Bible, especially the New Testament, is full of all the different disciples with their different realizations and different understandings that they got from Jesus Christ, and their interactions with Jesus Christ, they're put down in their own words. And so there's the book of John, book of Matthew, book of so many different disciples have contributed, and this whole thing is known as the New Testament. So all glories to the Lord Jesus Christ. May we pray for at his lotus feet to give us the intelligence to go beyond the bodily concept and to attain the highest bhakti that we are so fortunate to receive in this Gaudiya Vaishnava line. So, as Vaishnav Prabhu said, for those who are celebrated Good Friday and will be celebrating Easter tomorrow, uh, a wonderful, happy Easter, and all glories to Lord Jesus Christ, the Shakti Avatar. So Krishna says, Advaitam Achyutam Anadim Ananta Rupam. He has got many forms. If an ordinary person can have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 10 children, why not the Lord? Sometimes the very core or the fanatical people think that God has only one son, and that is Jesus Christ. That is not true. If an ordinary person can have 5, 10, 15 children, then the God who is also unlimited can have many children. But there are some children who are very special. Vande Guroho Sri Charanaravindam. Unto those Vaishnavas, unto those gurus, unto those acharyas who have understood the heart of Krishna, and they are doing the most difficult seva, coming down into the material world and reclaiming all those souls who have been lost since time immemorial. So all glories to all those wonderful sons of the Supreme Lord, all those Vaishnavas. Hare Krishna. So thank you, Vaishnav Prabhu, for highlighting that point. This was not a part of my presentation today, but I'm very pleased to say a few words about Lord Jesus Christ based on some of the discussions that I have heard Srila Prabhupada have with when Christ and Christo, so the anointed one. Christo means the anointed one who has been chosen by the Supreme Lord to do a particular task. So like this, Srila Prabhupada also believes that Jesus Christ is a Shakta Avishavatar. Hare Krishna. So in today's the topic that we are going to be hearing about and discussing is the dedication of the self, or in Sanskrit it is known as Atman Nivedan. Now, Bhaktivinoda Thakur is amazing. Of course, why not? Because he is one of the most intimate associates of Srimati Radharani in his original Golok or Raj form known as Kamla Manjari. And he has understood the heart of Radha Shyam Sundar and also of his most intimate associates, the Ashtasakhis and the other Manjaris like Rupa Manjari, etc. So anything that he composes, anything that he writes, it's on a very high transcendental platform. And it has perhaps more than one meaning of each and every bhajan that he presents, like Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's appearance. It has got an external understanding and also an internal understanding. So even for this bhajan, there are some amazing realizations that I would like to present in the short time that I have today. And this was, I believe, one of the bhajans that Srila Prabhupada sang quite often. This bhajan is presented in a book called Sharanagati by Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur. Excuse me. Hare Krishna. Now, Bhaktivinoda Thakur has written over 80 to 100 books, small and most of them he has written in the form of bhajans. So some of the most important works of Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur in the form of bhajan books are Sharanagati, Gitavali, Kalyan Kalpataru. To give a few examples of the bhajans, this particular bhajan, Manasa Deha Geha, which most devotees in Iskcon are quite familiar with, is from the book Sharanagati. Then Jai Radha Madhav Kunja Vihari is from the book Gitavali that we also sing generally before the Bhagavatam class. And also there, just to give you another example of from Kalyan Kalpataru is Gopinath Mama Nivedana Suna. That famous bhajan, Gopinath Mama Nivedana Shuno Vishai Durjana Sada Kamrata Vishai Durjana Kichu Nahi Mora Guna Gopinath. So wonderful book. So in this book called Sharanagati, Bhaktivinoda Thakur explains the process of surrender. Surrender, all devotees, whether they are Christians, Muslims, or anybody who has faith in the Supreme Lord, there is some level of surrender, or there is some level of Sharanagat or Sharan. Surrender means Sharan. But those levels of surrender may not be of the highest impeccable order. The reason being that this surrender that Bhaktivinoda Thakur explains in his book Sharanagati is divided into 6 sections. And that is called Sharanagati. Sharanagati is a Sanskrit word that is a combination of 2 words, Sharan plus Agati. So Sharan means shelter, which most devotees have from different faiths, different levels of shelter or surrender everybody has. But Sharanagati is the highest form of surrender, meaning Agati means motionless. Gati means to move, and Agati means no motion. No motion. So that kind of surrender, where Krishna, whether you kick me or embrace me, whether in my life there is going to be bad times or good times, I'm always going to be steadfast in my surrender. I'm going to be steadfast like a rock. I'm not going to budge. Like Chaitanya Mahaprabhu in the Sistastakam in the last shloka, he says, Ashlishyapadirtam pinashtumam adarshanam marmo harto karotu va yatha tatha va vidhato lampato mat prananathasya eva napara, which is the highest siksha in the Sistastakam, which is the highest mood. And that is the mood of Radharani. That is the mood of the highest surrender, where whether Krishna, you want to kick me or you want to embrace me. You are the transcendental Lord, birth after birth after birth. So in most cases, what happens is when we are in, we see that in our own life sometimes, that when we have a real hard time and sometimes things are really very bad, even the most person who is in good faith, the faith gets shaken. The faith gets shaken when somebody loses a very dear person, or when somebody loses a lot of possessions, and then they think, oh God, are you there? Why is bad things happening to good people? And sometimes the faith is shaken. So that shaken faith is not Sharanagati. The Sharanagati means regardless of where and what and anything happens, whether now, whether in the future, whether in this life or in the lives to come, no matter what, I'm going to be steadfast at your lotus feet, O Sri Krishna. And with the gopis demonstrated through the highest surrender, through the love that they had expressed. Because even though, and as we go through the verses of this particular bhajan, we will understand what surrender is, or what dedication of the self or Atma Nivedana is. The 6 different angas, or the 6 different branches of Sharanagati, Bhaktivinoda Thakur explains in his first song of Sharanagati, known as the introductory song, where he says, Dainayatma Nivedana Goptrite Vara Avashya Rakshibe Krishna Vishwasha Palana Bhakti Anukula Karya Kore Joshvikar Bhakti Pratikula Bhava Varjanangikar. Beautiful. This particular instruction comes from Hari Bhakti Vilas, Sanatan Goswami and Gopal Bhatta Goswami's conclusion about pure devotional service, wherein in Hari Bhakti Vilas it is mentioned that there are 6 different branches of surrender. One is dainya, first is humility. One is to be very, very humble in order to become a servant. A servant cannot be arrogant. And humility attracts Sri Krishna. That is the first qualification one must have, which Chaitanya Mahaprabhu also mentions in his Sistastakam in the 3rd verse, Trinadapi Sunichena Taro Iva Saishnuma Amanina Manadena Kirtanya Sadahari. One should be humbler than the blade of grass, more tolerant than a tree, and giving respect to all and not expecting any respect for the self. And that person will be fully qualified to chant the holy names in Shuddhanam. And eternally, non-stop, they will be able to, without any interruption. That is the qualification for the holy name. And the holy name means associating with Krishna and Krishna's most intimate associates, Hara and Krishna. Hara means Srimati Radharani, and all her intimate associates are encompassed in the word Hare. And Krishna means the all-attractive, the wonderful form Shyam Sundar, or the son of Nanda Maharaj, Nanda Kishore in Vrajdham. So Dainya, then Dainya Atmanivedan. Atmanivedan is the second limb of Sharanagati or full surrender, where we dedicate ourselves fully to Sri Krishna. And as we will see through this bhajan, Bhaktivinoda Thakur has actually in Sharanagati, in each section of the 6 different sections, he has dedicated about 5, 6, or 7 bhajans in each section. So in Dainya, I believe he's got like 5 bhajans. In Atma Nivedan, he's got about 6, or I think there are 4 bhajans in Atma Nivedan section. So Dainya Atma Nivedan, Goptritvevaran is the third branch of full surrender. Goptritvevaran means that Krishna, you are my provider. You are indeed providing me everything. Uh, right? Even if one is in this materialistic world, he's providing our bread and butter, he's providing our housing, he's providing our shelter, all those common things that most faiths believe in. But Krishna also provides a lot of more things than just the housing and the food and the materialistic needs. He provides who is known as Govinda. Go means the senses of the devotees, and go also means the cows, and Vin means to give pleasure. So he gives pleasure to his devotees. He gives when the devotee is engrossed in his bhakti, then at that time Krishna gives him the highest pleasure. And Krishna gives the highest of the highest of the highest pleasure to the Vrajvasis, especially in 2 different forms of love known as the separation and union. So that highest pleasure is only to be tasted by the Gaudiya Vaishnavas. And that is very unique. So that way, Goptrita or Gopta, Tumi to Gopta Jagannath. There's another bhajan where Bhaktivinoda Thakur has mentioned this words, Tumi to Gopta Jagannath. O Lord of the universe, you are indeed my provider. You provide everything to me. So, sometimes, we are so arrogant, like when we make a lot of money, some people, they go out about and advertise themselves. You know what? When I came to this country, I had only $50 in my pocket, and now I have a huge empire, millions and billions of dollars. I have this industry, I have that industry, and I did it. But a Vaishnava, even though he may have a lot of money, and a lot of Vaishnavas are very, very fortunate and blessed, like Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita, Shrinmanta Chuti Matam Gehe, that those who worship me, they are given an opportunity to be born in Vaishnava families, in Brahmin families, and they're born in wonderful opulence. They're born in opulence, but they never misuse their opulence. They never become very arrogant. They always say that this is by the grace of Krishna. I've received whatever. I'm just simply a caretaker. And that is the process of Atma Nivedan that we will be trying to enter into these verses. So that's the third branch, Goptirtya Varana. Then the fourth branch is Avasya Rakshive Krishna Vishwashapalan. Krishna will always protect me, have full faith. Just like how Prahlad Maharaj had full faith, no matter what different techniques and torture, the horrendous tortures that his father Hiranyakashipu had applied on him, but he had full faith. My Shri Hari will always save me. My Shri Hari, and he was protected right from being crushed under the heavy legs of an elephant, or by being thrown off the peaks of the mountain, or thrown into a very deep dark well full of venomous snakes, or even taken on a lap on Hiranyakashipu's sister Holika, who was endowed and bestowed this special benediction that if she enters the fire, she'll never get burnt. And she finally took that baby Prahlad into her lap and entered a huge bonfire, and then she got burned, but Prahlad came out unscathed because he always chanted the name of Sri Hari. So like this, Avasya Rakshive Krishna Vishwashapalan, Vishwas, we should have that Vishwas, we should have that firm faith. That's the fourth branch. And the fifth branch is that Bhakti Anukula Karejo Svikar. Whatever is conducive to bhakti, devotional service, we must accept. We should accept that. Everything that is that is favorable. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said that there are 5 things that one should all do as Vaishnavas. What are those 5 things? We should chant the holy name, number 1. Number 2, associate with Vaishnavas. Number 3, we should always read books like Srimad Bhagavatam, the books of pure bhakti. Number 4, worship the deity. And number 5, whenever we have the time, or we should take the time out to go to places of tirtha, visit Vrindavan, etc. So these are the ways where we can keep ourselves completely Krishna conscious. And that is what Srila Prabhupada, the purpose of the 7 purposes of Iskcon is basically It's the same thing what Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has taught us. Is the five conducive things that one should do, and all Iskcon centers are meant for that. And this Iskcon NIagara is also for the same purpose. We meet, although we are still waiting for this COVID to get over, and so that we can have a physical location and we can all physically associate, dance, kirtan, have some wonderful prasadam, and sing the glories of Sri Krishna. But in the meantime, we have this virtual platform where everybody gets an opportunity to associate, which is what Mahaprabhu's instructions are, what Prabhupada follows. We are Prabhupada-nugas, we are Rupa-nugas, following the footsteps of Rupa Goswami, who has understood the heart, the core of the heart of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And then the sixth branch is Bhakti Pratikula Bhava Varjan Angikar. Everything that is not conducive to bhakti, anything that is not conducive to bhakti, one should give up. One should not associate or give up those activities that will not help us in our bhakti. And we all know very well that Srila Prabhupada emphasized this, especially if we are very serious about spiritual life. What we should not do: no meat eating, no gambling, no intoxication, no illicit sex. Striyam dutam panam shunam yatra dharma chaturvita. It is not that Srila Prabhupada got a dream. Prabhupada spoke everything as it is. This is a verse from Mahabharata, that no meat eating, no intoxication, no illicit sex, and no gambling. Striyam means no illicit sex. Dutam means no gambling. Panam means no intoxication, and Sunam means no meat. Yatra, these. Adharma chaturvida, these four. So striyam dutam panam shunam yatra dharma chaturvida. No, these are things that we should not do. We should not eat things that cannot be offered to Sri Krishna. We should, no onion, no garlic, anything that is in the mode of ignorance should be avoided, because we cannot offer that to Krishna. Even those who are meat eaters and those who are following Hinduism, a lot of them eat meat, but they don't offer it to the demigods or to Krishna. Then if they cannot offer it to the demigods or Krishna, how can they take it? Think about it. If you are really a devotee of Lord Ganesh, or a devotee of Mother Durga, or a devotee of Lord Shiva, and if you cannot offer a plate that has got meat in it, or liquor in it, or any kind of onion or garlic in it, to Lord Shiva or Lord Ganesha or to Mother Durga, then how can one say that they are a devotee of these demigods? So what to talk about Lord Krishna? And these are all servants of Krishna. Ekla Ishwara Krishna Arsha Britta. Only one master is Lord Krishna, and all of them, including the great Lord Shiva, is Vaishnavanam Yatha Shambhu. He is the greatest Vaishnava. Vaishnava means one who pleases Vishnu, or one who pleases Sri Krishna, one who is a servant of Vishnu, one who is a servant of Krishna. So the topmost example of the Vaishnavas that they are taking, Nimna na Ganga, one that flows down from the celestial skies, that amongst the most purifying rivers is Ganges, and Vaishnava Nam Yatha Shambhu. Srimad Bhagavatam has declared that. So we have to, those people of poor fund of knowledge, they think that, they can do anything, and then, they will not be, they will be able to please the Supreme Lord or any of his associates. No, they will be displeased rather. But due to the poor fund of knowledge, people do not understand, and they do as they please just for their sense gratification. So these are the six. So here, Bhaktivinoda Thakur says that Sharanga Sharanagati Hoibe Jar Tar Pratna Sune Vrajendra Kubar. If one has the full surrender, Sharanga, with all Shara means six, and with the all six limbs of Sharanagati, then and then your prayers will be heard by Vrajendra Kumar, the son of Nanda Maharaj. Sri Krishna will hear your prayers. Many a time, sometimes we are praying, and sometimes Krishna hears our prayers, sometimes he does not. This is our practical experience. Is it not true? So why is it? Then we have to examine ourselves. Are we fully surrendered with the six different forms of surrender, with the six limbs of surrender? And then we will get our answer. Perhaps we are surrendered a little bit here, a little bit there, but the six forms, and those who are fully surrendered with the six limbs, Krishna must listen to them. This is something that Bhaktivinoda Thakur has boldly declared. Shadanga Shadanga. Anga means the branches. Shada means the six. Shadanga Sharanagati Hoi Bejar, Tar Prarthana Sune Vrajendra Ka. Then Vrajendra Kumar, the young son of Nanda Maharaj, will listen to our prayers. So now in this particular bhajan, Manasa Deha Geha Jo Kichumor Arpilu Tua Pade Nanda Kishore. In this bhajan, this is from the section of Atma Nivedan, or the second branch, where he says, Manasa, my mind, Deha, my body, Geha, all my possessions, meaning my house, Jo Kichumor, whatever I have, Arpilu Tua Pade Nanda Kishore. This is an amazing, the first two lines actually encompass the verse 1866 of Bhagavad Gita. Sarva dharman parityajya mam ekam sharanam vraja aham tam sarva papebhyo mokshasyami masacha. Mam ekam sharanam vraja means whatever I have, my mind. Mind is very difficult to surrender. You know, it's some of the persons or saintly persons or Vaishnavas can give up all kinds of attachment to gross material things, the attachment to the opposite sex, attachment to even money, to wealth. But to give the manas or the mind is so subtle that it is extremely difficult to control. Even Arjun says that it is easier to control the wind than the mind. Oh Krishna, chanchala hi mana Krishna. The mind is so chanchal. It is always, what is the right word in English? Um, it is so,
Flickering,
sorry, fickle. Go ahead, Vaishnav Prabhu.
flickering.
Flickering. Thank you. The mind is always flickering. So chanchala hi mana Krishna. So he's saying that first of all, I offer my mind, because if I offer my mind, everything else will fall in place. And then the body and the house and everything that I possess, actually everything belongs to Sri Krishna. We are just caretakers. Just like Srila Prabhupada used to like to give this example, that when somebody is working in a bank, and let's say he's doing a cashier's or a teller's job, there are thousands and hundreds and $1,000s in the drawer. But at the end of the day, every cent and every penny is accounted for, because the cashier is not attached to that money in the drawer. He knows that this belongs to the bank owners. It is not his possession. Similarly, everything that we have, a pure Vaishnava, even though he may have a huge mansion and he may have children and he have a wife and he may have children, everything in another bhajan and a similar, he says, everything that even my children, my wife, everything, they belong to you, Krishna. I'm just the caretaker. And when we take care of our family with such consciousness that they belong to Sri Krishna, it is pure bhakti. Then there is real Grihastha ashram. Otherwise, according to Prahlad Maharaj, we are Griha Medis. We are simply enjoying the Grihastha ashram for our sense gratification. One time, Srila Radhanath Swami Maharaj, I heard his lecture many years ago, it was in Chicago. He stressed the word that there's 4 varnas and 4 ashrams, and those who are in the Grihastha ashram, I still remember the way Maharaj emphasized the word ashram. Ashram means a place to cultivate Krishna consciousness. So it's brahmachari ashram. Even when one is a brahmachari, it is a place to cultivate Krishna consciousness. Grihastha ashram. Ashrama means voluntary austerities one should take so that one will go beyond the bodily concept and really come to the realization that I'm not this body, I am a spirit soul, and I'm eternal servant of Sri Krishna. So even when we are married, it is not a free license to eat, sleep, and simply mate and defend. No, it is an ashram if it is lived properly, so that we can gradually, if we have that understanding that these children somehow or the other, they were somewhere in some part of the universe and they have been given shelter. Karmana in Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 3, I think chapter 31, conversation between Devati Mata and Kapil Dev, who is none other than the Supreme Lord. It is mentioned, Karmana Daiva Netrana Deho Jantu Upapate Striya Pravishta Udaram Retu Purusha Kanashreha. And Srila Prabhupada very nicely explains that Karmana Daiva Netra, under the supervision of the Supreme Lord, the jiva obtains the shelter of a particular set of parents. So when even a Vaishnava procreates and creates a child or children, then that procreation is meant that this will be your last life, my dear boy, my dear girl. and you will go back home, back to God. You will, or you will be eternally served, so much so that you will be eternally serving Sri Krishna. You will be reconnected to Sri Krishna, so that you will never take birth in a material world with a material consciousness. That is the real duty of a parent. That is the real duty of a Vaishnava father, Vaishnava mother. And those who are very fortunate, those who to be born to Vaishnava parents, because that is, so manasa, deha, geha, whatever is, I'm just an instrument. These are all just your possessions that you have given me for a temporary time to serve you, O Krishna. So when one serves Sri Krishna with that mentality, even in the Grihastha ashram, it is perfect. Then even though one may be driving a nice car or maybe having a nice house, all this is, if that is done, the nice house is to make a nice temple of the Lord, to invite all the devotees, to conduct nice spiritual programs, and all those different Krishna or conscious activities, then that house is Golo. Jedina grihe, jedina grihe bhajan dekhi grihet Golok bhai. Whenever we see bhajan in the house, that house itself becomes Golok Vrindavan. So this is the opinion of the acharyas. So manasa deha geha jo kichu more arpilu tuva padenanda, I offer it to you, Krishna. That way we do not get attached to it. That way we know it is Sri Krishna, it is yours, and I'm only an instrument. And when that detachment happens, then we become perfect in karma yoga. We become perfect in karma yoga. We do not become karmis. Karmis are attached to their to everything that they do, and they're always attached to the fruits. A person in karma yoga does whatever he does and offers it to Sri Krishna. So this is definitely so much so in the first two lines of this particular bhajan, we see that there is karma yoga, there is bhakti yoga, and the highest principle of surrender has been mentioned, or the principle of surrender, the highest principle of surrender being especially dedication of the self. Manasa deha, and jo kichu more is an amazing thing. Whatever else I have. Now, if we go a little bit deeper into whatever else I have, it also means that my minute independence. Yes, my dear devotees, I'm taking this into a little further, into a deeper step. See, what happens is when we come to this material world, we are always executing our minute independence either to serve Krishna or to serve Maya. We all have our minute independence. Like, we are inviting to the temple programs or even to this Saturday or weekly programs so many devotees, but so only X number of devotees are showing up because of the minute independence. Somebody has a birthday party to go, somebody has a wedding party, somebody has another engagement. So these are different uses of minute independence. Somebody goes to the bar, somebody goes to the temple, somebody goes for satsang, somebody goes to the club to play cards. It is because Krishna, we are made in the image of God. Even the Bible says that. And when we are made in the image of God, that means everything that Sri Krishna has, we have it in a very minute form. And Krishna is fully independent. In the Srimad Bhagavatam first verse, it is mentioned that Krishna is Abhigya Swarat. Abhigya means he knows everything directly and indirectly, and Swarat means he's fully independent. And because we are his part and parcels, Mama Yamsha Jiva Loka Jiva Bhuta Sanatana, we are his part and parcels, we also possess that quality of independence known as, because we are very minute or minuscule in nature or infinitesimal in nature, we also have that minute independence. Now that minute independence will make us or break us. If that minute independence is used properly in the association of Vaishnavas, then certainly we will be liberated eternally for the service of Sri Krishna. Whether we are situated in Golok Vrindavan or even if we have to come back in the service of Vaishnavas like Srila Prabhupada. So that is the perfect use of minute independence. And the imperfect uses, we all know that we can keep coming back again and again since time immemorial. Puna puna janam, puna puna maranam, janani jatare shayanam. Again and again we will die, we will take birth, die, and again we will take birth into different species of life, into different wombs of different mothers. So that minute independence, Bhaktivinoda Thakur explains, and this I had studied in one of his other bhajans, as Krishna, I don't even want this minute independence. Just see the prayer of Bhaktivinoda Thakur, very, very important. It really touched my heart. And it really raises our standard or bar, in devotional life. Because we all tend to have some prayer in our heart when we are standing in front of the deities. So when we follow in the footsteps of the great Vaishnava Acharyas, we really understand, we will raise our bar. He says that I have this minded independence, and I can make so many mistakes with that. I want to even surrender that to you. So sampade vipade jivane marane dae mama gela tua pada varane. In the next verse, he's saying, whether in distress, in happiness, or in bad times, whether in life or death, dae mama gela tua pada varane. I have no responsibility because I have surrendered my minded independence to you, O Krishna. Now, this is a very highest form of surrender. One can surrender their wealth, one can surrender, control their senses, surrender their association with the opposite sex. One can even surrender or control their mind. But to surrender their minute independence, that anu swatantrata, is the most difficult. That is so difficult, but if the proper kripa or that mercy happens, and when we associate with pure devotees, mostly through Vani, because that's where we can get our inspiration from. That Vani of Prabhupada, the Vani of our Bhaktivinoda Thakur, the Vani of Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur, all these Vaishnava Acharyas, they're so inspiring. That Daya means Daitva. Daitva means responsibility. Daya Gela Tuva Padavarane. Then, Krishna, it is up to you. Whatever happens. Like, we have seen in many cases, one great devotee from Gujarat, which Chaitanya Mahaprabhu had given darshan to, is Narsi Mehta, his very famous bhajan. Vaishnav janto tene kahiye pida parai jane, para dukh ke upkar kare, pan man na aade, ave abhiman re. Very famous bhajan. And he has written all these wonderful, pure bhakti bhajans, in the bhava of Vrindavan, etc., where he has mentioned that in his own life that he was so poor, he was used to wear tattered clothes. And his wife used to rebuke him. There was no food in the house, not even some salt or even some flour that it can be mixed and made into some chapatis just to fill the belly. His wife used to every day abuse him. Go and get something. His brother used to abuse him. And at that time, he used to go out into the market and with his little tanpura sing Krishna bhajans with ecstasy in his eyes, tears rolling down. And some of the shopkeepers would give him some flour and some oil. He used to go home like that. And then his little daughter grew up to be a nice young woman, and it was time for her to get married. And at that time, there's nothing. So Narsi Mehta is saying, Daima Magela Tuva Padavar, and the same bhava as Bhaktivinoda Thakur. This daughter is not my daughter, Krishna, it is your daughter. So you do whatever happens. It is your responsibility for her wedding. And like that, when the time came for the wedding, it is amazing. Krishna comes down and he descends from Golok, and he actually comes down as Shamarya Seth. Seth means a very rich merchant. So even now, today, there is the temple of Shamarya Seth in Gujarat. If you go there, not too far from the Dwarka area, of course, a few hundred kilometers from there, but Shamarya, so Shamaraji, it is called Shamaraji, on the way to Nathdwara. So this Shamarya Seth, he comes in the form of a merchant dressed very richly, and he brings a lot of treasure, gives enough to the Brahmins, feeds everyone nicely, and the whole village is just shocked at the opulence, at the way the daughter Narsi Mehta, she gets married. So this is the bhav that he had told. He actually wrote a little letter to Krishna. My dear Krishna, she is your daughter. I have no more responsibility left. But that doesn't mean that we imitate them, because that could be misconstrued as laziness. If we don't have the 6 legs or the 6 branches of surrender, then it would be laziness if we think that, if we don't do anything, and if we've got a daughter to be married or some responsibilities at home. So there's a very fine line, by the way. But what I'm trying to say is, Bhaktivinoda Thakur says that I've already surrendered my minded independence to you. Now what else? I don't have anything. At your lotus feet, even that responsibility, what I have, is gone, my dear Krishna. That is the highest surrender principle of dedication, dedicating the self, which is today's main theme. Maravi rakhavi jo ichha tor nitya dasa prati tuva adhikar. Whether you want to kick me or kill me or keep me alive, Jo ichha, whatever your desire is, nitya dasa prati tuva adhikar. I'm your eternal servant. You have full rights. I'm your slave. You have your full rights to the slave, whatever you wish. Slave does not have any rights. You know, in the material world, we've heard so much about slavery, how the British, they captured so many people from these countries and they slaved. The slavery was there, the Dutch, the British, the French, and they were shackled and they were tormented. And when had their kids were also, they had no rights. They had to be a part of that slavery. But this kind of slavery is transcendental slavery, where even when one becomes a slave of Sri Krishna, Krishna becomes his slave. Yes, like Arjun, he became a driver of Arjun. At the time of the Rajasuya Yajna, there are thousands and hundreds and thousands of Brahmins and ministers and subjects and different invitees who came in that huge program where Krishna himself served prasadam, and then he picked up all the dirty plates of Yudhishthira Maharaj. So that is the Krishna becomes from Bhakta Vatsala, he becomes Bhakta Vashya. He becomes controlled by the love of his devotee. So that is Daya Mama Gela Tua Upada Varane Marabi Rakabi Jo Ichator Nitya Das. I'm your eternal servant. Very important. This is same thing in Chaitanya Charitamrita. Jiver Swarup Krishna Nitya Das. Not that today a certain need is taken care of, then I forget you, Krishna. No. I'm your eternal servant, Nitya. Whether I'm in the material world or whether I am given, your association in the spiritual world or into the spiritual sky. And then he prays. What amazing prayers. Janama vimoe ichha jadi tor. Nitya dasa prati bhakata grihe jani janma homo. In the fourth verse, he's saying that, you know what, my dear Krishna, my karma may be pretty bad. And if I have to take birth again, even if I don't get, your association in the spiritual world, that's okay. But I have one request, my dear Krishna. Oh, my dear Krishna, oh Nanda Kishore. He addresses him in the first verse as Nanda Kishore. I really don't have so much time because this verse, if I start going into the internal meanings, it will take another session. But anyways, so he's saying, oh my dear Nanda Kishore, if you have to give me birth again, because everything happens by the will of Krishna, then only one request, please, oh Krishna, give me birth, bhakata grihe, in the house of your devotee. Please give me birth in the house of your devotee. I request you. Bhakata grihe jani janma homo. I may be born into a house of a devotee. And he says then further, Bhaktivinoda Thakur, even if I do not deserve to be a human being. Wow. See, this is the bhav. And we immediately jump to the concept of, oh, I want to go back to Godhead, back to Godhead, back to Godhead. It's not bad. It's a good concept. But when I read and when I kind of digest the prayers of these Vaishnavas, the bar is set to a different standard. He's saying, my dear Nanda Kishore, oh Krishna, even if I don't deserve to be a human being, that's okay. Kita means an insect. Kita janma ho jathatu vadas. But then I have only one request, even if I become an insect, make me an insect in the house of your devotee. See how wonderful prayers, because in the house of a devotee, what is going on? Always there is Nitya Kirtan, always somebody is chanting the holy names. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. There is the arti and there is the wonderful incense and the different paraphernalia that is used in Krishna's service. There's a wonderful aroma the moment you enter into devotee's house. There is Krishna Prasadam. And when the devotee washes his plates and there's little particles that are left in the different corners of the house, as a little ant or a little insect, I can partake of that little particle that has been not only enjoyed by you, O Krishna, that is also that Maha Prasad has been taken by the Vaishnava. So Kita Janma Ho Jatha Tuvadas. He's saying Jatha Tuvadas. Tuvadas means your servant. Your servant means a Vaishnava. See, this is the kind of prayers that we should be thinking about. Bahirmukha Brahma Janma Nahi Moras. And he's saying, even if I get that opportunity and the opulence of Lord Brahma, Bahirmukha, being averse from you, O Krishna, being averse from you, O Krishna, Bahirmukha Brahma Janma Nahi More As. I do not want birth or opulence as Lord Brahma if it's just opulence and without any devotion, and when I am averse from your Krishna consciousness. No, 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 no. Even great demons like Hiranyaksha, Hiranyakashipu, Kansa, they all had that, Jarasan, they all had that great opulence. But they were Bahirmukha. They were averse to you, O Krishna. So I prefer to take, if my karma is so bad, prefer to take birth as an insect in the house of a devotee. But then he specifies, Krishna, you know what kind of devotee? Please, if you don't mind. See, look at this earnest prayers from this. Please, sir, please, one more, one more, one more. You know, I understand that I'm not that great. You know, my karma is so bad. I'm a papi. I'm a sinful person. I know I will become an insect, but I'm requesting you, please, let me take birth in a servant of your house. But what kind of servant? What kind of Vaishnava? He says, Bhukti Mukti Spriya in the 6th verse. Vihina je bhakata, lavaite tako shanga anurakta. Bhukti Mukti Spriya. One, that kind of servant of yours or that kind of Vaishnava who is bereft of enjoyment, bhukti, who is bereft of the thought of liberation, who is not seeking liberation. Spriya means the Bhukti Mukti Spriya. Spriya means that propensity. That Vaishnava who does not have the propensity of any sense gratification. Bhukti, not bhakti. Bhu, it is Bhukti. And bhakti is Bha. Bhukti. Bhukti Mukti Spriya. Vihina je bhakta. That devotee who doesn't have that propensity for liberation or for any kind of sense gratification. Labhaite tako, may I receive that association, Sanga Anurakta. May I receive that association of such a devotee, even though I be born as an insect. But my request is, I want to be born as an insect in the house of such a devotee, bereft of any kind of propensities of liberation or sense gratification. So beautiful. And then he says, in the second last verse, Janaka Janani Daita Tanaya. Janaka Janani Daita Tanaya. You are indeed, Janak means father, Janani means mother, Daitaya means daughter, son, means you are my whole family. Prabhu, you are my master, Guru, you are my preceptor. Pati, you are my husband. Tuhu sarvamo, you are everything to me. So this is an amazing, even a lot of, when we were kids, we had learned this, in this, there's a nice Sanskrit verse, Tameva mata chapita tameva, tameva bandhu cha sakha tameva, tameva vidya dravinam tameva, tameva bandhu mama deva deva. This is exactly what Bhaktivinoda Thakur is saying. That you are my father, you are my mother, you are my brother, you are everything to me, my master, my guru, my husband. Sarvamoy, you are my everything. And finally, Bhaktivinoda Thakur is saying that Bhakati Vinoda Kohe. Bhaktivinoda Thakur is saying, Shuno Kana, oh my dear Kana, oh Krishna. Kana Krishna loves those different kinds of names when he's addressed by those names. Radha Nath Tuhu Amar Prana. Oh Master of Radha, Radha Nath, Tu Amar Pran, you are my life and soul. Please know that. So this is the actual, short version of this bhajan of the dedication of the self. How one can dedicate oneself to Sri Krishna by the medium of such prayers. And then as we sing them, as we assimilate them, as we digest them, then this can become a practical part of our life. That can become our real desires. And we will act one day, just like what Thakur Bhakti Vinod, we aspire to do that. One more ending note that I would like to make, and this is on a level of rasa. Here, Krishna is being addressed in the first as the Nanda Kishore. So Thakur Bhaktivinoda here clearly indicates that he is a true Gaudiya Vaishnava, because there are many types of Krishna, but we are only concerned with the son of Nanda Maharaj. Srila Prabhupada has mentioned, I had mentioned this in the past quite a time in different lectures, perhaps in the Iskcon NIagara programs or other programs. Some of the devotees may be common in this program, but there are many types of Krishna, Prabhupada says, especially in his purport of Bhajahu Remana Sri Nanda Nandana. So addressing the mind, he's saying, please worship, oh my dear mind, the son of Nanda Maharaj, Nanda Nandan. So Srila Prabhupada says that there are many types of Krishna, but we are only concerned with the son of Nanda Maharaj. So the Krishna that spoke Bhagavad Gita is Vasudev Krishna. The Krishna in Dwarka is Dwarkadish Krishna. The Krishna in Mathura is Mathuresh Krishna. The Krishna in Dwarka is the four-armed form of Krishna, of Vasudev. But Nanda Nandan in Golok Vrindavan or in Raj Bhumi is the original Supreme Personality of Godhead that Lord Brahma speaks about in the Brahma Samhita, where he says, Govindam Adi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami. Wherein Vyasdeva addresses in the Vedanta Sutra, the first acronym, Janmadiyasya, and these are the same two words how Srimad Bhagavatam begins. Janmadiyasya, everything emanates from you. And who is that you? That Satyam Param Dhimai is Nanda Nandan or Nanda Kishore. So that really gives us a glimpse that, and not only that, here Bhaktivinoda Thakur is in the form of a Manjari, as a very, very intimate associate of Radharani, who is a gopi. And the gopis are always praying like that, even in the Gopi Geet, that, we have surrendered everything to you. Arpilu tuapade. We have surrendered our family life. We have left our husbands. We have left our elders. We have left our pati sutan vaya bhrata bandhu. We have given up everybody and we have come to you, O Krishna. So that is the highest form of surrender. So here we can see there is a double meaning of this verse, especially the first two lines indicate, and the last actually, where he's saying that Bhakti Vinoda Kaye Shuno Kana Radhanath Tuhu Amara Prana. So in the Manjari Bhav, there's one thing that the youngest of the gopis, they are known as Manjaris, they always are looking for the union of Radha and Krishna. So therefore here he is addressing them, addressing Krishna as Radhanath. So Radhanath Tuhu Amar Pran, you are my life and soul because you keep my Radharani very happy. You are my life and soul. So continue doing that. That is what gives us a lot of pleasure. The gopis and especially the Manjaris, they're always looking for the union of Radha and Krishna, especially when there is some kind of a separation, a transcendental separation that happens. So like Bhaktivinoda Thakur here, as Nayana Manjari is pleading to Krishna, Radhanath, oh Master of Radha, you always control Radharani. But also there is another deeper meaning of the word Radharani, Radhanath. Radhanath also means Radha, you are the master. You are the master who can control everybody in Braj. So Radhanath Tuhu Amar Pran. Even if Shyam Sundar, may be the best to everybody in the entire creation, but if he doesn't please you, Radharani, you are our Lord and Master. If you cry, we cry with you. If you rebuke Shyam Sundar, we rebuke him. Because you are the master, Radhanath Tuhu Amar Pran. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna. Just a little tinge of some inner meanings, which I just, discussed in the last couple minutes. But there's much more to this. Perhaps at another time, at another occasion, we can revisit this bhajan. It is evergreen. It is full of nectar with a lot of external and internal meanings that can really transport us to a different and a higher transcendental realm. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. All glories to Thakur Bhakti Vinod. Gaur Premanande, Hari Hari Bol. That is the meaning of dedication of the self. Dedication of the self is what we all want. Surrendering. Everybody says, how can I surrender to Krishna? How can I surrender to Krishna? People ask these questions, Every day we hear that when we are speaking, even as speakers, sometimes we think, we learn all these things, but Krishna, when will this happen? That can only happen when we have the right desire, the right association, these two things. And then the mercy will flow. Nothing to do with our own endeavors. Hare Krishna. All glories to Srila Prabhupada.
Hare Krishna, Sachit Prabhu, and to all the devotees that gave us your your time. This class is obviously a request for the highest standard of surrender by an individual that exists. Now, this may be a very difficult uh, target to reach. It is it's a very high standard. I've been listening very carefully to all the points, but for now, we would like our devotees who attended the program to pose any questions or concerns they may have, or doubts, or to clear up any confusion. You may ask or present whatever you'd like to present at this time. We'll take some time to go over that. Pitambara, Prabhu.
Oh, 1 second. Hare Krishna. Pitambar Prabhu, go ahead, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. Dhanvat Pranam, Bhagavath Prabhupada. I was not able to unmute, Prabhu. Okay. Thank you so much, Prabhu, first of all, for the wonderful explanation of Atmani Vedanam, dedicating the self. As Vaishnavadas Prabhu said, it's of the highest standard, and it calls for a very high and deep understanding of what Bhaktivinoda Thakur meant. And I also listened carefully the 6 limbs of Atmani Vedanam, and a very nice explanation, Prabhu. That's all wonderful. But then let me ask you, I have got 2 questions, Prabhu. First question first. So the first question is, Prabhu, this is for the common, ordinary people like me to understand. We keep on saying, Prabhu, that surrender to Krishna, surrender everything, surrender mentally, surrender physically, surrender your thoughts, surrender your deeds, surrender your words, everything. Surrender, surrender, surrender. Up to that 18.66 says, Sarva Dharman Parityajya, Mam Ekam, only me. Mam Ekam Saranam Raja. Now, when we keep on hearing repeatedly the word surrender, 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 my question is, Prabhu, can you explain in simple words, without going into 6 limbs and those intricacies, simple words for common people like me, what do we mean by surrender, Prabhu? I'll put the question in another words, that what would I do, or what am I supposed to do or show or exhibit such that I am called a surrendered soul? So what is the definition of surrender in short? Thank you, Prabhu. I'll ask my second question after you finish the first one.
Okay. So
Thank you,
the
Prabhu.
answer is simple and yet complicated. And perhaps I will also take the help of Vaishnav Prabhuji, who is also a senior Vaishnava here, if he wants to give his input. So we are so stubborn because of our conditioning. Since time immemorial, all we like to do is sense gratification. Just enjoy, enjoy and enjoy. Even within the spiritual domain, even when we come to the association of devotees, see, if we carefully look at some of the words that we choose, unknowingly, not with malice or anything. Oh, I enjoyed this, or I enjoyed that. Even when it comes to kirtan, or when it comes to prashadam, etc., we always like to we put our place first. I enjoy. So if we slowly change that mentality and we think, whatever I do, did Krishna enjoy? Whatever I offered, did Krishna enjoy? And when that consciousness, that Prabhupada has coined the most two amazing words in the English language, which I don't think, even though in my youth and my other younger days, I used to read a lot of philosophical books prior to coming to Iskcon, and different paths, Buddhism, Christianity, Islam, I've gone through some phases of that, and even within Hinduism, but I've never seen anybody come up with these 2 words as Srila Prabhupada. So the point is consciousness, Krishna consciousness. So that surrender means basically whatever I do, will it please Krishna? The answer is simple, to your question. Whatever I do, will it please Krishna? So basically, when the receiver of the seva, is satisfied, that is a form of surrender, of the person rendering seva, whether mentally or physically, whether mentally or physically. And it starts because we are so much used to that concept of sense gratification and our material experience, then we have to take guidance by surrendering to the Vaishnavas, to true, genuine Vaishnavas. There are many types of Vaishnavas, and they're all to be, respected with folded hands. But to surrender to a highly realized Vaishnava is different, because that person can, by his mercy, give us what we don't have. The question that you've asked, it will be answered. The guidance will come. And either that can be through Vani or Vapu. Now, Vapu, we may not be most fortunate, because even in our present life, even if our Guru Maharaj is the best, that association that we can aspire for, we may not be able to get it. But the Vani is always there. The Vani of Srila Prabhupada, the Vani of our Acharyas is always there. It is within like 2 feet of our arm's reach. Just we have to go to that bookshelf in our house. And surrender before reading that Vani. That, dear Srila Prabhupada, I'm reading your books. Dear Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur, I'm reading your poem. Would you please give me that mercy that I would be able to understand it just the way you want me to understand it? And then everything, that is surrender, basically. That plead, or that genuine desire. That genuine desire is surrender. But unfortunately, that genuine desire is sometimes very flickering. It comes to many devotees, but it is flickering. And that is the reason why we need to, Prabhupada said, constantly be 24-hour Krishna conscious. 24 hours. That's and that is only the abhyasena. Krishna says, by practicing. So Prabhupada said that when you go to sleep, beat your mind 100 times with the shoes, and when you wake up, beat your mind 100 times with the broom. So it's an easy process, and at the same time it is not easy, because the mind is flickering. It is, why go today? We can always join late. Why go? Why, the rounds, we can actually, if we want, we can sit in one place and chant 16 rounds, good rounds, like Prabhupada said. But why do that? I'll finish my 4 rounds now, and 4 another, and 4 in the evening, and then I'll drag myself to finish the other 4, but because I've taken a vow. So these things, we have to be conscious about. And that consciousness is brought about by like-minded Vaishnavas. When we have that Sangha, either through Vani or through Vapu. So this is the best answer I can give, because even I'm a struggling soul, Prabhu. Whatever you are saying is, I also feel that. It's not that I'm bereft of it. There are moments where those realizations seep in, but sometimes they're gone, they vanish. And then Maya just takes over, and then it's that CNN news or other subject matters that just, preoccupy me, the rest of my time, rather than, being 24-hour Krishna conscious. And that is what we aspire. The more we study the pure Vaishnava Acharya's books, the more understanding of surrender will come, and eventually that surrender will happen. So I would like to right now probably ask Vaishnadas Prabhu to throw some light on your question. If you want to simply repeat it again, unless Vaishnava Prabhu, because I know you got up for a second from your chair when he asked that question.
Prabhu.
Vaishnadas Prabhu,
You are on mute.
Sorry. Thank you, Pitambara, and thank you, Satchit, for this opportunity. You know what it is? It's a very broad and very deep question that requires a lot of advanced scholarly type of personality to address that. And the one thing is, nobody on this planet right now will have the depth to answer that question. If there is such a person, he'll be in the spiritual world. Because what I'm saying, to be able to accommodate your question. But I would go to Bhagavad Gita, chapter 9, verse 34, to very simplify the situation. Man mana bhava, constantly engage your mind in thinking of me, become my devotee, worship me. And if we invest total faith in the holy names of God. Because Prabhu did the Shiksha Astakam, and all the energies of God have been invested in the holy names of God. And I think if you surrender to the holy names, it may be the pathway to complete surrender down the road. I mean, this is a very simplified answer, but I don't think I'm qualified to give you a full depth type of answer for you. So, but thank you anyway.
Thank you so much, Vaishnava Das Prabhu and Satchidanand Prabhu. The bottom line is, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu says the Yuga Dharma is chant Hare Krishna, and just take the shelter of the holy name, the rest of the things will fall in place. So that is what the message is for the ordinary man like me, where, we are struggling to know what is this surrender coming again and again and again. But thank you so much for whatever explanations came up with. The second question, is it okay for me to ask you, Satchidanand Prabhu?
Just go ahead, Prabhuji.
So I heard you speaking of minute independence.
Yes.
And that brought me to a thinking where we keep on hearing from our acharyas that once upon a time we were with Krishna, and then minute independence is misused, and we came down, and then we also hear Krishna saying not only once but at least 4 times in Bhagavad Gita. And one example I will say is Janma karma chame devyam o evam yoveti traktata yoveti tatvata chatvadeham punarjanma naiti maameti so Arjuna. One who knows the transcendental nature of my appearance and activities, oh Arjuna, will never ever take birth again in this material world. But cherry on the cake is he will attain my eternal abode. He will attain my eternal abode. So Krishna gives, this is just one example. There are 4 more. For lack of time, I won't quote Prabhu. But in Gita, Krishna says, of this there is no doubt. He keeps on emphasizing that one who attains me one who does this would attain my abode, and once having attained my abode, he will never ever come down. So Prabhu, my question is, and then I'm trying to link that minute independence when we hear from acharyas that, we misuse that minute independence. So if we misused when we were with Krishna once upon a time in the original, let me call point 1, the first point, when we misused, we were with Krishna. When we were with Krishna, we are already in the eternal abode of Krishna. Then point 2 is now we are speaking in this material body, in this material world. Pitambara Das is speaking to Satchidanand Prabhu. This is the point 2. Why then is it not contradictory for Krishna to say that if you attain my abode, you will never fall back again? But we already attained it. Acharya says we were there and we misused minute independence. So Prabhu, this seems to be very contradictory for my tiny brain to pick up. If you can shed some light on that, Prabhu.
That's a wonderful question, and that's always been a multi-trillion-dollar question. There's also many essays, not a leaf falls from Vaikuntha. So I will be very careful to tread on it, because sometimes it could be misunderstood. And sometimes Srila Prabhupada has mentioned a few things that can be contradictory in their own sense, because that is how sometimes Vaishnavas, when they speak or when they write something, it is on a certain level of consciousness, it is beyond our understanding. So that is the first, word of caution. Just like, when we are taking some medication, prescription, there is the label. So that warns us about certain things. So first of all, I personally believe that, and again, somebody may say, what is the use of your believing? So that can be true. But because I've read other essays on it, and I've read on this topic matter, we were never in Golok Vrindavan, number 1. Okay, we came from the Viraja, from that area, in the holding area, where Mahavishnu in his belly, and the Karuna Daksha Jal, and the reclining, the Karuna Daksha Vishnu. There were some jivas that were there that were eternally in a dormant stage. And they were never ever in the Siddha state. They never ever entered Vaikuntha or any of those higher regions. And then they came in touch with Maya. And because they had minded independence, they can either take to bhakti and then find their way by the mercy of Guru Gauranga into the spiritual realm. And once they reach there is no question of any contamination. Now, on the other hand, we hear about this case of Jai Vijay, that they were there in Vaikuntha, the gatekeepers, and when the Kumaras came, they were uh, not allowed to go in. So the Kumara says that you have duality, you are seeing good and bad does not exist in Vaikuntha. Therefore, you are not fit to be in Vaikuntha. Therefore, you are cursed to go down. And then Vishnu comes and he starts begging for forgiveness, saying that when a servant makes a mistake, it is the master. So let me apologize. So in that case, again, it is the maturity of the devotee when we are thinking about, so there will be so many different small and big contradictions that can happen. Now, obviously, in Vaikuntha, there would be no duality. Jai and Vijay could not even conceive. If the four Kumaras had already gotten that far, that means the qualification was there. But because Narayan or Krishna had to display a certain rasa, which is the rasa of chivalry, the Virya rasa, which nobody was willing to give him that satisfaction in Vaikuntha, Yogmaya arranged that. So the Yogmaya arranged this particular case of Jai and Vijay falling down from Vaikuntha. But as far as us, the jivas, we are known as the tatastha jivas. Tata means a bank or the shore. That shore is sometimes with high tide covered with water and that becomes sea. And when the water recedes, it becomes land. So we have that capability to stay in Maya by misusing our minded independence, or by correctly using our minded independence, which will be inspired through association and through mercy and through our own desire. So it is all these three. Through association comes the desire, whether it is material or spiritual. Through association, if one associates with drug addicts or bad elements, then the person who is associating with those bad elements will naturally develop the desire to drink more or to do drugs, etc., etc. But those who associate with Vaishnavas and devotees, their whole desires and aspirations will change, and we can see that each one of us, our lives has dramatically changed if we go back 10 years, 20 years, 30 years. So that is the proof is in our own experience, so we cannot deny that. Now, the desire keeps changing based on the association, and as the association and the desires become deeper and transcendental in nature, just the desire, just like Srimad Bhagavatam in the second verse, Shushrubi Krutubhi Tatshana. Anybody who just simply desires to serve Srimad Bhagavatam can immediately arrest Sri Krishna within their hearts. Arrest Sri Krishna in a transcendental way. So similarly, what you're saying is, first of all, we were never in that region. If we were in that region, and then, so that way even Srila Prabhupada came down, Krishna Presthaya Bhutale. So that is not a fall down, number one. Srila Prabhupada was never in Maya or any of the acharyas that they descended. They came for a particular purpose. So as far as we are concerned, we are known as Nitya Baddha Jivas. There are two kinds of Jivas, Nitya Baddha and Nitya Mukta. So we are Nitya Baddha Jivas, and these Nitya Baddha Jivas get the opportunity time and again in the 8,400,000 species of life, especially when they go through that cycle, when they get that human birth, at that time they get that opportunity to get some Krishna consciousness. And if that minded independence is used properly, then they will be able to transcend this material world and go back home, back to Godhead, and never to come back unless Krishna wants you to come back for a particular reason, to serve him, but not in mind, never in mind. One will never be encompassed or encapsulated with Maya. So right now, and another thing, this question was posed to Srila Prabhupada many times. Coming to this part, Srila Prabhupada said that supposing if you are in a high tower or a high-rise building and there's a huge fire, an inferno. In our childhood, we had seen that movie Towering Inferno, if you all remember that. So when suddenly through the balcony or through the windows, the fireman comes with his tall ladder, breaks those windows and balcony and grabs your hand and says, come on, I'm going to buckle you up, harness you, and you just come along with me, tandem, and I will safely take you down. And if some person there stands there and says, my dear fireman, can you please explain how the fire happened? Did the fire happen through somebody who had lit a candle under a Christmas tree, or it was a fire in the kitchen, or was there a short circuit? Can you explain all that? So Srila Prabhupada said the fireman doesn't have the right. He says, you come on with me right now. The building is burning, yes or no? Any moment it will collapse, yes or no? You are in a fire, in a huge inferno, yes or no? Do you want to save yourself? Yes or no? If the answer is yes, then grab my hand and let's go down that ladder. So the thing is, the important thing is, we are all in a samsara davana. Yes or no, we are. And we have to get out of it. Now, how we came, why we came, it is not so important. The important thing is getting out of it and getting engaged back in Krishna's service wherever he wants. Swargeshu, Narkeshu, Apavargeshu, Samatulya Darshana. Whether he wants us here, whether he wants us in the upper varga, in Vaikuntha, or he wants us in Narka. Samat, for a Vaishnava, it is equal. Samatulya Darshana. One looks upon that equally, whatever pleases Krishna. So this is my answer. It is threefold. We were Baddha Jews, never ever in Golok Vrindavan. No. If somebody said that, it might be just like sometimes we tell a fairy tale to kids. When somebody tells a kid, Mommy, how did my brother come? So then obviously the parents are going to spin like a nice fairy tale that the stork brought your baby brother, right? So similarly, there's so many things that an immature devotee may not understand, and the senior Vaishnava, the Acharya, may give different explanations. But as we get mature, we will understand. And as we get more and more into the Shastra, the answers are there. But at some point, even when we read so much Shastra, there will be confusion. And there will be different messages. It is also called, what is the right word for it? A Leela Bhed. Even in the pastimes of the Lord, there is Leela Bhed. What to talk about philosophy, it can happen. So we have to follow in the footsteps of our acharyas. Their answers. I like the best answer that Srila Prabhupada gave, that yes, I'm in this samsara davana. I need to get out. I need to grab your mercy, Srila Prabhupada. I need to grab your lotus feet. I need to grab the lotus feet of anybody who helps me to grab Srila Prabhupada's lotus feet, and I will be saved. So there is no confusion as far as I'm concerned, and I hope I was able to throw some light and give you some satisfaction with these three different versions. And if Vaishnav Das Prabhuji, if you want to add something to this, perhaps your experience and your thought flow would really help, Prabhu.
It makes sense. Your answer makes sense, because if you have reached such a purified state of existence, there will be no room for impurity. So therefore, you cannot fall down. I mean, that makes sense. And I heard your explanation 10, 15, 20 years ago from other devotees in our home programs. The same question by Pitambara was posed, and I got the same answer as what you quoted. So thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Pitambara Prabhu, what are your thoughts?
Thank you, Prabhu, first of all, for the wonderful answer. Yes, Prabhu, as we go deeper into Shastras, Prabhu, many times it's confusing. Especially I'm speaking for myself, ordinary soul, Prabhu. It's very, very confusing because we are trying to know the Vastu Tattvata, Tattvata, what is it? What is it? That is the Athata Brahma Jigyasa. We are inquiring and peeling the onion, going into depth to try to know. But then when you go further into depth, there will be confusions, and the only confusions we can ask is to Vaishnavas, Prabhu, who can throw some light. So what I understood from you, Prabhu, is that we were never ever in my example, point one, we were never in the Goloka or in the spiritual realm. Whether it is Vaikuntha Loka or Goloka, they are all three-quarters spiritual realm. We were never there. That's what I understood from you.
Yes,
And number two is, that means we were somewhere in Brahma Jyoti or Viraja, you said?
we were always in the belly of Karanodakshai Vishnu.
Okay. And then from there, we came down.
He is the source of as we read the Shastras, it tells us that he is the one who also glanced at the Mahatattva and he injected a time and he also injected the jivas. Now, those jivas could be the dormant jivas from the previous kalpas that they had when there was devastation. They took shelter of him in his belly, and also the jivas that were eternally dormant in his belly. It was time for them to, with his free will, to come out into this. And as soon as they came in contact with Maya, they came into the material. Yeah, and another thing, one more dimension. You know, when we get more humbler and we think, Krishna, you brought us here for a reason. You brought us here in this material for a reason. And if that reason is obviously it's a correctional facility, then please let your will, pass. Let your will come true. Let me get purified. And wherever I am in the future, let me be in a purified state, even if I have to live here. Now that I think would be a very pleasing prayer to see Krishna, following in the footsteps of like Bhaktivinoda Thakur. Kita janma hoilo ja yatha tu vadas bahirmukha brahma janma nahi moras. Now that itself, I would like to, even if my karma is so bad, let me be born as an insect, but just request in your devotee's house. So at some point, I forgot a verse in Sanskrit, it is a very nice verse. At some point, we have to lock our arguments. Devotion is such a thing that will bring us to a platform where, there will be no questions. It's the only question is, how can I become a better servant of Krishna or the servant of Sri Krishna? That will be the only question that will remain for eternity. Even when we obtain Golok, Kim Kari, these acharyas, they are Kim Karis. What can I do? What can I do? How can I serve you better? How can I serve you better? I explained the meaning, the word Kim Kari. Bhaktivinoda Thakur has explained that in his own Gopinath Mama Nivedana Sono. Tomara Kim Karayami Gopinath. Tomara Kim Karo. Kim means what? Karo means what should I do? Karo means to do. Kim means what? What should I do? Oh Gopinath. So that's the only question that should remain, and all other questions should dissipate. Of course, right now we are all in the sadhana bhakti, so thousands and thousands of questions will come. But ultimately, all questions will be locked up. All kinds of arguments will be locked up. All kinds of logic there is no logic in love. I read this in one of Srila Prabhupada's senior god brothers, Sridhar Maharaj. Prabhupada used to love him. And he used to say, but Sridhar Maharaj said this, that love is beyond logic. Love is beyond law. Where is the law? When the gopis were sent into suffering by Sri Krishna, it is beyond logic. Beyond logic. True or not, the Vrajvasis, beyond logic. Somebody can ask, how can Krishna be so cruel to them? But that is love. They never look for law. They never look for logic. It is beyond logic. So beyond logic, these things are beyond logic. Bhakti is beyond logic. There's only to a certain extent we can explain certain things. But it is beyond that, my dear Prabhu. Hare Krishna.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Prabhu. Thank you so much. And just to recap, Prabhu, there are three, the Bhava, Prabhava, and Vaibhava. So in Krishna and Vindavana is Bhava, Krishna in Mathura is Prabhava, and Krishna in Dwarka is Vaibhava. Is that correct, Prabhu?
I believe so. Right now, even I am a little...
Yeah. I just wanted to recap.
Yeah, the Vaibhav Prakash.
Yeah, Vaibhav Prakash. So Krishna left Vindavana and gave Bhava expansion.
Yes. He remained in Sri Vrindavan Dham as Bhava.
Bhava. Thank you, Prabhu. Thank you so much for the.
That is also, that will take a lot of maturity to even to understand all that. Even Krishna is not there in Vrindavan, at the same time he is in Vrindavan. But we have to just take the word of the acharyas, and the realization, hopefully someday it will dawn on us. That is what we aspire for. So, Hare Krishna. Good
Hare
question.
Krishna, Prabhu.
I appreciate, and I'm sure Vaishnadas Prabhu also appreciated those questions. Good discussion.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Thank you.
Satchit. Thank you, Pitambara Prabhu. I
Thank you.
wonder if there's any other Prabhu or Mataji that has another question before we move on to the conclusion of the program. Fine. So thank you. It's a wonderful question and answers, a great presentation by Satchit. Just two important things that's happening, coming up for this week. April 4th is the appearance day of Srivas Pandit. Srivas Pandit is a name that we chant every day. Jai Sri Krishna Sri Advaita Srivas. You know, every day we are saying, and if you're in Mayapur and you walk along that road, you'll come to Srivas Anga, the place where the Kirtans started, the ecstatic Kirtans, Mama Prabhu and all his associates. And that's where the Chandkazi broke the drum. So Srivas is a very wealthy person, and his wife Malini was a very close associate of Mother Sachi. So tomorrow is the appearance day of Srivas Pandit. Now, Wednesday, the 7th, I think it's the 7th of April, is Ekadasi. Ekadasi, and it's known as Papa Mochami Ekadasi. And we'll be fasting from grains, lentils, beans, etc. And the next day, Thursday, we'll break fast at between 6:46 and 11:08 a.m. Between 6:46 and 11:08 a.m., we will break fast on Thursday. So Wednesday, Ekadasi, tomorrow, the appearance day of Srivasanga. Now we're going to call upon Venkat Prabhu and Radhika to do the closing Kirtan. And thank you all for your attendance. Please join us next week.
Hare Krishna. Vishnu Padaya, Krishna Krishna, Srimati Bhaktivedanta Swami Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishnu Shunyavadi Vascharya Deshitari Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shiva Sadi Gaura Bhaktavinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare Krishna Krishna Hare Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare Krishna Krishna Hare Hare Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Krishna 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 Hare Rama Hare Rama Hare Krishna 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 Hare Rama Hare Rama Rama Hare Krishna 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 Hare Rama Hare Rama Rama Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Rama Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama Rama Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Prabhupada ki Jai.
Vaishnav Prabhu, would you like to say the Jai Dhwani?
I think maybe you should, if you can do, please do.
Jai Om Vishnupad Paramahansa Parivajagacharya Stottar Shri Srimad His Divine Grace Sri Bhakti Vedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada ki Jai. Nityalila Varishtam Vishnupad Paramahansa Parivajagacharya Stottar Shri Srimad His Divine Grace Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Goswami Thakur Jagat Guru Srila Prabhupada ki Jai. ब्रह्मवत गौड़ी संप्रदाय आचार्य गुरुवर की जय, अनंत कोटि वैष्णव वृंद की जय, नामाचार्य श्री हरिदास ठाकुर की जय। प्रेम से कहो श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्त वृंद की जय। बोलो श्रीवास आचार्य की जय, श्रीवास आचार्य की जय। श्री श्री राधा कृष्ण गो गोपीनाथ श्याम कुंड राधा कुंड गिरी गोवर्धन की जय। श्री वृंदावन धाम की जय, श्री मायापुर धाम की जय, श्री नवद्वीप धाम की जय, पुरुषोत्तम क्षेत्र जगन्नाथपुरी धाम की जय। गंगा माई की जय, जमुना माई की जय, तुलसी देवी की जय, भक्ति देवी की जय, समावेत गौर भक्त वृंद की जय। All glories to assembled devotees. Hare Krishna.
Hare
All
Krishna,
glories to assembled devotees. Hare Krishna.
Hare
All
Krishna,
glories to assembled devotees. Hare Krishna.
Hare
All
Krishna.
glories to Sri Guru and Gauranga. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. All glories to Iskcon NIagara. Gaur Premanande.
Hare Krishna. Thank you to all the devotees for giving us your time and enjoying this amazing katha by His Grace Satchitananda. It was a very deep class. It was of the highest caliber of instruction or guidance, and we can take a lot of juice from there and benefit our existence. So thank you to Venkat and Mother Radhika for your sweet performance of the Maha Mantra. Thank you again, and thank you to everyone. Please join us next week. Hare Krishna.
Hare
Hare
Krishna.
Krishna, Hare Krishna. Thank you so much.
Hare Bol.